Hello everyone and welcome to the show. This is our first broadcast and this is on Saturday, the 19th of January, and I'm pretty sure there's the 9th Yellow Vest protest will be happening today in France, Paris, so who knows what's going to be happening out there, but this will be the 9th week straight now, and from all the other protests it could get good or bad, but who knows, you know. And it really only takes a little research on history to recognize the human concept and, you know, authoritarian regimes that are quite happening now around the world. And it's just, when will the people wake up to the change that is happening around us? I mean, if you could argue that a lot of people have accepted this radical change and will only rebel when their lives are affected personally. I mean, we accept media glorification of degeneracy, political corruption, foreign threats, and national debt. What most people don't realise is that the living conditions have gone worse, and they've gone worse than they used to be. They're not getting any better, obviously, so it's just a matter of ways you can look at it, and it's really time that the people find their potential and realise that human life was not supposed to be controlled. You can just look at Britain as an example of a nation that's losing its rights to freedoms, laws being pushed away, and I mean, Great Britain, it's just only an example of how they're losing their rights, and the fear that anybody that posts something online that may offend, or I mean the criminal law justice system over there is just ridiculous now, where to the point where, yeah, anybody that posts a meme that could offend, or in their definition of offending, they could get arrested for it. They could come to your door and take you out and arrest you for simply just expressing opinions online. That's where Britain's coming to, and that's what they want to try and push over here in Australia too. Arrested for opinions, it's just ridiculous. It's coming, and not just your future as well, but also your kids' future that's going to be mostly affected by these changes. We got to look at it as people. We've got so much opportunity and potential throughout hundreds of years. We've done so much, so many accomplishments, so many laws passed that have helped rights of man, and man has progressed. But nowadays we're going downhill. We're not progressing. We're not thinkers. We're not thinking properly. We're just doing whatever the joys of, or doing whatever feels good. Temporary fulfillments, as I like to see it. But besides that, anyway, it's really time to see that who controls you. You know, turn off your media and just listen to your fellow man. That's really all it takes. Rights are slowly disintegrating, and our people have never been so divided. We must fight back and stop being afraid. We have so much lost potential. Let's rise back. So that's that anyways, guys. Today we're going to have guest appearance from my brother Baden Mottee, and we've accomplished a fair bit for our 2018 this year. We're in the Wagga Wagga helping the by-elections to help the duopoly of the Liberal and Labor parties that were clearly had the Wagga mayor position at the moment. So throughout a lot of progress and help, the independent Joe McGurr won the seat for the Wagga Wagga and is the mayor. So to kick out the Liberal and Labor to get rid of Liberal and Labor really was an accomplishment, and that was for a lot of hard work and dedication. Also, being a part of this town for so long, a lot of the connections and contacts. It was also the vote from the independent Paul Fennell that we were actually campaigning for that helped Joe McGurr get the votes that he needed. So a lot of that, and we've got a lot more to push through for to 2019. A lot more coming. We would like to help One Nation at some point, and be a part of the New South Wales kind of federal election purposing. So there was that, and got a lot to talk about. So anyways, here's Baden, and what are your thoughts on that, Baden? What do you think?
In relation to Paul Fennell? Or just
Oh, sorry, yeah.
what you've said overall?
Yeah, what's your take on the yellow vest? How, that's going to be the 9th week for that, and they'll be happening today. And what do you see coming out of this one?
Well, my name's Baden Mottee, for anybody who's unfamiliar with me or hasn't heard my name yet. In relation to the yellow vest movement, it's always good for me to say that I have the best, or I hope the best outcome subsequent with this event. It seems to be progressing slowly. I also have my doubts, however. I think that there's not enough progress being made quick enough. Or I also think that there are things that the yellow vesters could do which would be more effective and more efficient. However, they are opposed with heavy opposition, the police force and such. But I have had some inside information from a friend passed on to me that there were quite a few prominent generals in the French military who consider Macron a traitor and have a very negative opinion towards him. I could verify that if you wished me throughout this discussion later on. I've got a list of their names on my Facebook.
Of course, and you have to see that, especially with the police becoming the blue vest movement, the ambulance, the fire people all standing down from working for this Macron and the government. So yeah, really, it's an influence that has shaped through a lot of the institutions and aspects for France. But and also that we've seen the forklift, the France take a forklift, knock down, try and take down the ministry building doors. We've seen police now being told that they're trying to push through, the government of France are trying to push through that police can use live ammunition eventually. So
yeah, that's definitely speculated. There was a lot of speculation that they've already used live ammunition, which after a bit of research found out that was just bullshit. But there is still speculation that they are considering using live ammunition if the situation intensifies more. My thing with the yellow vest movement is that it's either going to succeed or it's going to slowly just die out. And I hope that, for people to participate consistently in these protests, they're going to be taking more and more time off work because a predominant amount of them are working class, and that will affect their personal finances and their family and such, as well as the economy on a larger scale. But it's more the fact, how long can these people continue this and be able to operate in the most effective manner in order to make the transition that they desire in their country without dragging it on for too long, and worst case coming in that the police eventually end up smashing the regime and arresting many of the organisers and such, to the point it's so strangled that it just becomes progressively harder for the yellow vests to organise.
Yeah, exactly. And a reason they actually put on the yellow vests, I heard, was to get a lot of the to get a lot of the world's attention on what is going on. And the yellow vest being in large groups and stuff, I guess it is pretty hard to not notice it. But yeah, so that was a way they want to really wake up the people from around the world. And if they keep it up, maybe they will be the martyrs we need. I hope not. But if something does happen, the media, they have been hiding it for a while, and you just look at it, Macron signs that have been clearly just changed over, so they took out the bad words, and media buildings being targeted by protesters and stuff. So they hate the media. This isn't just over fuel tax. It's clearly a lot more to it.
It's something a lot deeper than that. Fuel tax was just, you know, a surface kind of surface reason or justification for it to happen. And that's the thing is with France in its current state is, and especially within the Yellow Vest movement, that not everybody there has the same motives. They're all there angry. They're all frustrated with the same government. However, there would be different factions within the Yellow Vest movement who would be vying for their own means of power. That's just natural, especially in a large collective of people. And there's been that speculation that Antifa and left-wing terror groups, and even some right-wing terror groups, if you'd say, they are also trying to amalgamate in with the forces. The question that arises from that, the main question is, if this Yellow Vest were to be a successful rebellion, then who would replace Macron? What government would replace Macron? What kind of system would they have? How would they be able to implement the change? They would need.
I think there was a politician in France that they're actually looking at as a kind of a figurehead for the Yellow Vest movement in that area. So I don't know her views really. I haven't really researched her, but yeah, I hope as well as you do that the people are awake enough to really try and understand what's happening to us. You know,
whether or not the Yellow Vest rebellion is successful, it's still going to cut quite a deep impact in the geopolitical situation, especially around Europe at this time, where you've got other countries in Europe who are beginning to emulate the same methodology as the Yellow Vest, and it's not as prominent over in some of these European nations, but the effect is building and the movement is it's expanding, and whether or not it expands to a point of a significant point of change all through Europe for in a positive manner, it's also it will. The main thing I see from it will cause it will cause an earthquake. It will cause a ripple effect, and other nations throughout Europe, it's going to start clinging onto culture that more and more people are becoming more frustrated with their governments, and the longer that these governments stay in power, perpetuating their their methodology of operating the country, which isn't necessarily beneficial to most of the people, well, it is going to get to the point that these movements, they'll return, they'll revive, and they'll get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yep. No, I completely agree. There was another one I wanted to get into real quick. What about that Gillette ad? I'll get your take on that real quick. What do you think about that?
To be honest, I haven't had a chance. I've tried to look for the Gillette ad. I couldn't find it. What I've heard from the Gillette ad, though, it's I've heard people say it's a genius marketing tactic. I've heard people say it's an attack on masculinity, an attack on men. It depends how you interpret it. If the way that the ad that I did see it part by part in the parody. It definitely, come off with the message that
Yeah, toxic. I've always agreed that toxic masculinity is a problem, especially in large collectives.
The thing is, it's not. So toxic masculinity just takes a human problem and tries to conflate it with just men. It just, it's like.
So is toxic femininity.
Well, it's toxic humanity, man. There's males, females, whatever race they are, whatever religion, no matter what, there's always going to be individuals who have toxic ways of thinking, who are, psychopaths or sociopaths or just, highly narcissistic people, or they're violent people, they're ruthless people. And yes, there are a lot of men who use their masculinity to, put down other men who aren't as masculine or as bold as these individuals.
Look at how the systems, look at how the system's programmed. Where's all these men's rights? Where's the Men Too movement? You know, you get the in America a moment where these are the survivors, we believe survivors slogan, you know, and then you look at a feminist online saying all men should die. You know, it just shows the double standards.
Well, it's how this culture's been programmed, and it's been programmed to ignore the double standards. It's that if you know, there've been situations where a man's been, you know, on a talk show interviewed about his partner who locked him in the house and was beating him, and he had to jump out the window to escape, and the audience laughed at that. And it's not just that in that situation. Like, people find it, whether they laugh consciously and boldly or they laugh in their heads, people find it funny of an idea of, you know, a female beating the crap out of a partner. In not in a general sense, but it exists.
Yeah.
And the problem is that if it was the opposite way and it was a man beating his partner and his partner had to jump out the window, there would be there would be a outrage. It would be the epitome of reprehensibility, and people. It's just these double standards and this whole shift in culture and the expectations behind it that you know, men have to be the ones to provide, men have to be the ones to be protective, but men can't be too protective, otherwise that's toxic. Men can't be too dominating, otherwise that's toxic. And we forget that this world that we live in is a highly competitive world, and that whether you're a male or a female, you're going to be in circles of influence with other males or other females. And the bigger the group of males, the larger the group of females, the more dynamics are going to the more the dynamics will complicate. And you'll have a group of 10 girls, a group of 10 guys. In both groups, there are going to be individuals who you could attach the toxic archetype to with the personality. There are a lot of women who are highly manipulative and deceitful, and maybe may not be as able to commit physical violence against men, but that doesn't mean they commit it against other women. There's prisons full of women. There's psychopaths, or there've been women who have ruled throughout history who have, you know, led men into dangerous slaughters, massacres. But on the other side, there are a lot of men who are just genuine fuckwits or assholes. Apologise for my language, and it's not a matter of men having to take responsibility for the asshole men, because if you said that, then it should be women should take responsibility for the asshole women.
Yeah, it feels like it's a slap to the face to, especially its majority male audience. I mean, why don't they pick out the good characteristics and positive traits of males and try and, you know, spread a message to try and influence that, or, you know, spread a positive message about that.
The thing is the more they try to effeminate men, or emasculate men, the more that there's going to be a small rebellion of culture to it. And the thing is, the realistic thing is, we shouldn't emasculate our men to becoming highly feminine, or however these feminists would like these men to be molded into. Men should become more respectable and courteous, and have etiquette and educate themselves and be virtuous individuals. However, men must also know that, you know, no man's going to go through his life, or woman is going to go through their life without meeting somebody who has high ambition and is willing to tread on people, or stab them in the back in order to get where they feel they have to go. And that's the problem that exists in both genders.
Yeah.
And we have to stop pretending that it's just a male thing, because yes, there are a lot of arsehole males out there, and there's a lot of arsehole females out there, but my main point is that we have to take it as a human, it's a problem with humanity, that violence and aggression and domination isn't only exclusive to men, it happens to women as well. And honestly, if tomorrow we woke up where women had superior physical strength to men, they were as high as men, they just suddenly woke up with amazing martial arts skills and skills of deception and manipulation, there'd be a lot of women in that bunch who would take their frustrations and anger that they've you know, and based from these cognitive distortions they've had towards men, and they would reverse it. They would start beating on men. And not they as in general, but there would be parts of the population who would.
Yeah, it does really feel like a power game at the moment. But I wanted to touch on one more, Finn, before we finish up. We don't want to go too long on this, but the St Kilda Beach Rally. Obviously, you've heard all the attention and media coverage. You've seen Senator Fraser Anning's appearance. Definitely the media and political figures didn't like that. But also the Nazi supporters. I saw a few pictures of a different couple of people. And I've heard a lot of responses online of people defending those people that were there. So I'll get your take on that. What do you think about the Nazi presence at the St Kilda rally? Was it really a presence there, or was it all just a hoax? And Senator Fraser Anning turning up, was he? What was his motives for turning up? And is he really the new figurehead that the right has put him out to be?
Well, I think we need to clarify that that both sides of the rally, whether it was the Patriot side or the left Antifa side, there were numbers of fuckwits on both sides. And people don't necessarily have to be vocal or be caught to be a fuckwit. They might, you know, be able to conceal their motives or their reasons behind being there and disguise it more off as just a concern for the issue at hand. I can't be ignorant enough to think that both sides are innocent, or just one side's innocent, one side's guilty. And this is my problem. See, I think that it was a good cause, the St Kilda rally. There obviously is a problem with the African crime within the African community, and there's problems with crime in all communities, all cultures. But I guess in the defence of the rally, that this certain situation, it was because there was an over-representation of crime with the African community in Victoria. And that, to me, is a problem. But after that, I'll say I also have a problem where there's certain individuals who only ever conflate crime with African groups or, you know, Middle Eastern or ethnic groups. Yeah. There's crime that exists in all cultures, and we have to treat that accordingly and equally, instead of just saying, oh, he's black, he gets longer, or it's suddenly more worse because he comes from another country. But we have to deal with the problems, and I'm going on a bit of a rant. I won't go on a rant, but just on a monologue. We do have to deal with the problems with this, and I think we have to deal with them quite harshly. However, we can't paint everyone with the same brush, because we, as on the right, don't like being painted with the same brushes or being Nazis or fascists by the left, because it's not true, and it's like saying that all Sudanese immigrants are criminals as well. That's simply not true. And I think with the rally, a thing that did annoy me quite a bit were there were individual journalists on the side of the Patriots who would make some hyperbolic claims, such as the attendance at the rally was 500 people, and I had quite a few insiders at the rally reporting information back to me, and they said at most there was about 250. 250 to 300 people at most, man, and I might be even pushing it a bit. They did look like there was quite a few people there, but didn't look like there was 500 at all.
Yeah, you can't be sure, and it shouldn't make anybody afraid to turn up to these rallies. These rallies can be good and peaceful, but also it's also the responsibility of the rally people to make sure that these people aren't fucking turning up with SS helmets and doing swastikas. They shouldn't be doing that, and they got to make sure they kick those people out. And it's also the big touch on this subject is the media deception, and it's also happening with the France and the riots over there, but also here. And they actually interviewed a couple of the left-wing people that actually had convicted murderers standing in the crowd.
There was one, apparently. Yeah,
just some disgraceful, disgusting people standing there, hateful people, and they completely ignore any of their problems, and they just focus on the St Kilda right rally. But you know, and yeah, you can do that, but you've got to be balanced and fair, and that's really what everybody should be questioning. Why is our media doing this?
This is the symbol of ideological possession, mate, is that you have people on the left, and there was fucking, like, a convicted murderer on their side, you know. Antifa, to me, are fucking terrorists. Apologise for my language again. The thing is that the left are all saying that the right are all Nazis, and I think 90% of that's bullshit. I think there would be people who just genuinely don't like blacks or anyone who's not white. And I would know that for a fact is because the last rally that I went to, organised by the same individuals, there was members of the anti-Podian resistance there, who are, if you are unfamiliar of, they're quite an open, they're not closet neo-Nazis, they're quite open about their ideology. And these people are tied in with other certain groups within this patriot group. This is why I think that, as much as I despise Antifa and I despise the left, that there is a certain small, and let me just repeat, certain and small degree of truth to what they are saying. Where they are screwing up is they're saying that you are all Nazis, you are all fascists, which is a lie. It's a generalization, it's absolute BS. But there are individuals, no doubt, who are comprised within the Patriot movement who genuinely are neo-Nazis or white supremacists, and we can't deny that either. And what annoys me is where we have individuals on the right trying so hard to just pass any screw-up that happened at their event as some left-wing orchestration. And, you know, those people being caught, people who were photographed and filmed doing Roman salutes, and then you've had people on the right say, oh no, they were just retaliating to people on the left who were doing Nazi salutes to them. And it's like, well, whether that was the case or not, that's still a stupid thing to do, especially when their event has the spotlight on them from the media looking for anything. Like, these people should know already the media are looking at any excuse that they can find to demonize the Patriot rally or Patriot movement as some evil, white supremacist, hate-filled group. And what, it's just weird that when the media do report it on the news, there's people scratching their heads like, oh, why are they calling us Nazis? Why are they calling us fascists and such, you know? And it's because there are individuals within your groups who are stupid people. And what we need to do, or what the Patriot movement needs to do, or what any kind of nationalist movement needs to do, is we need to denounce the people who come along to the rallies or to the events who have those negative sentiments towards people from other races or backgrounds.
Yeah, there's too many disingenuous people, conflicting opinions. We really need to be responsible and take action. But before I finish up on this, I'd just like to, you got any tips for improvement? I'll just get into a couple that I had. Well, we always need to keep note of our improvements, you know, whether it's physical, working out, education. Talk about it, you know, let people know. And, you know, do online blogs about your workout styles or stuff like that, you know, just ways to really help people. And, you know, don't lose faith with humanity. That was one. You know, become the person you want others to be. You know, be nice to people, be good. You want respect, give respect to people. Unless they earn it, you know, of course. But, you know, keep searching for the truth. Lead by example. Read more. Work out. You know, just look after yourself. Find a passion that helps the cause. You know, there's a lot of stuff that people aren't really taking into notice. That, you know, there's the education system, there's foods, there's all sorts of stuff that we should be, as conservatives as well, should be taking more of a step towards, and law and all sorts of stuff. Take care of yourself and set routines for yourself. So that's some of the positive steps I had for some of the listeners. You got any advice?
Yeah, well, just finishing my thoughts off with the St Kilda rally, I just think that it'd be more strategical and more intelligent and wise for any future Patriot rallies that do occur. For the organisers to denounce the present, because no matter with what nationalist movement or nationalist event or rally there is, there are always going to be individuals who attach themselves to those groups who have more disingenuous and insidious motives behind them. Now, to elaborate on self-development and self-improvement, that's a huge transition that I'm currently going through now, and I will always go through. And that's what we need to focus on, is that we're living in a world where there are so many external distractions which prevent us from being able to look within ourselves and develop ourselves to being the idea of the perfect prince or perfect individual whom we wish to emulate. And instead of focusing on ourselves and developing our skills and instilling ourselves with stronger levels of self-discipline and educating ourselves and working out and training and being healthy, etc., etc., we also must be able to build our own networks and see ourselves as an empire. We are our own, as individuals, we have our own resources, our own knowledge, our own skills, etc., that we can use. But the more of us there are, the more we can combine and use these resources within each other, becoming interdependent with each other. So we're all looking after one another like a family. So in the means of self-development and enlightenment, my first tip I can drop out would be, if we haven't, we need to understand the significance of ideological possession and biases. And we need to understand that, this is my opinion, but I'm going to say it anyway, that the whole paradigm of the left and the right is intentionally designed to engineer further division. Is that people jump into the left or the right realm, and then they vehemently subscribe to the predetermined list of things to fight for, and then they just ignore everything else that could come that exists outside their perspective or their box, I'd like to put it. And these individuals, once you become blinded by ideological possession, you are plagued with so much cognitive dissonance that it is almost impossible to rationalize or formulate a new conclusion with your previous philosophies or ideology, because that bias prevents us from seeing anything. And when we become possessed to ideology, we become like those hardcore right-wingers or them hardcore Antifa left-wingers, where, it's our whole worldview is shaped around this grand narrative that we build in our heads, that, it's the evil white man who's destroying the world, and the white race is, the epitome of all reprehensibility in the world and such. And on the right, it's, we've got to save the white race at all costs, and we've got to deport all people who aren't of white color or aren't of European origin. And this is where ideological possession becomes its worst. The further people get on the scales, the more susceptible they are to that possession. Now, I'm suggesting, I'm acknowledging a problem, but I'm suggesting that we need to become more politically individualistic. And I'm not meaning individualism in the sense of just going by our own way and living our own lives and not caring about anybody else. No, I mean politically individualistic in the sense that we all have our own values and our own opinions on things, and they change over years as we get older and accumulate more wisdom. So I think that jumping into a box limits us from being able to see that change in society, because we might see it, but we deny it because we're so programmed to our ideology. So it's a matter of being able to say, look, I've got some views on the right, I've got some views on the left, I've got some views that aren't even really discussed within the right or the left axis or whatever, it's a matter of thinking outside these issues, which are it's like there's 10 issues written on a piece of paper and we just have to live by them 10 issues and nothing else. But outside of that, we do need to
maintain physical health, and they say mind goes with body. We need to eat better. We need to train ourselves whichever way. We need to even like not just physical training, but hop in a really cold shower and try to deal with, you know, how cold the temperature of the water is for as long as you can. Being, you know, you're in almost an ice cold bath or an ice cold shower. And
yeah, cold showers are pretty good for you, especially with inflammation and all that sort of stuff.
well, building discipline as well, Nathan, man. You know, like it's, you know, the longer you can stay in there freezing your ass off and being able to think of nothing or focus, like this is what the Buddhist monks do. They put themselves in situations of feeling pain. How have they learned not to feel the pain? It's like they can like
sleeping on the floor.
Yeah, like, you know, they put themselves in uncomfortable positions, and that's where it builds discipline. Next to discipline is self-education and self-enlightenment as well. And there's a difference between being educated at one thing or a couple of small things and being wise. Is that there are a lot of educated sheep in this world. There are a lot of people who are, you know, well-spoken and charismatic and relatively intelligent to a good degree. However, they're ideologically possessed. They're smart people, but they're bought into the bullshit narratives that have been pushed upon them. And that limits their mind. And plus, they think that they're a lot smarter than what they are. They marginalize themselves as well by saying, "Oh, I don't need to learn anything else. I already know it all. Everything that comes with my my ideology. There's nothing else to know."
Yeah, no, totally agree. Hopefully, you know, we're going to finish this up now. It's been a good show, and we'll definitely come back for some more. Leave a like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed it. We'd really appreciate that. We got to
Thanks for having me too, man.
Yeah, thanks for having, well, it's good having Bane on the show. He'll definitely come back for more. Also, I'd just like to finish up with the saying Kia ora, Finn. I'd also like to see the organisers of that rally, you know, probably try and do some with the Vietnamese community. They've been having problems with the Sudanese as well, and, you know, organise a rally together maybe, and get some more people from different ethnicities. That'd be good, and backgrounds. But that's our podcast anyways. Leave any questions, or if you guys felt I was wrong with anything or will wrong with anything, please let us know. Like and subscribe as well. Should be a good show. 2019 should be a good year, and we touched down on some good stuff on this one, and we'll definitely touch down on anything else we need to. So thanks for coming on the show, Baden, and
Pleasure, man.
looking forward to see you again soon. Thank you.